even though the house is worth a load of more money than it was when they bought it, their wages haven't grown. So the house they want to buy is still a little bit too expensive for them. And that's why that market's floating, right? It's not going up. It's not going backwards. It's just kind of in the middle. But expectations from sellers are here, and expectations and capacity for buyers are here. And that's a really hard gap to close, even if you're a good real estate agent, telling the truth, giving good updates, talking to them every day, all that sort of stuff. Those challenges are in England. Those challenges are in Australia.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton. As ever, I'm joined by my colleagues and friends, all-round legends in the industry, James Kendall and Ian Storey. And this week, we also have a very special guest, Mr. Sam Hunter, co-founder of Home Search, and loads of other things going on now, which he's going to talk to us about today, as well as helping any listeners with some, I think, lead gen tactics. Is that right, Sam? You came on all pumped, telling us how you're going to generate loads of leads for the listening people. That's what you just told me before we came on.
That was the premise that I was lured here under by James. Yeah. He's like, mate, just come on for a chat. It's good to see you. And here we are on episode 2 of the How To series. Apparently all about lead generation. We'll figure it out.
Great stuff. Right. Well, as always, first of all, let's go to how your week has been. And let's start with you, JK. And JK, we've got a guest, so keep it straight, mate. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, cheers.
He does go on a bit every week, doesn't he?
Yeah. not as bad. Do you know what? I'd just done it then. What I hate listening back to, if I ever listen back to when I'm editing, is I hate my laugh. So sometimes I'll edit my laugh out. So I'll probably edit all of this bit out now. I do, yeah, because I'm like, whatever. Anyway, my week has been pretty good. We've had another 4 or 5 sign-ups in the last week. The biggest issue we've still got is getting them out of sign-ups and into photography and on the market at the moment. We've just got so much booked in, like styling stuff to do. It's just a little bit of a logistical nightmare. We haven't had a really busy week on the phone. Sales have been a bit light, if I'm honest. But with the stock that we've got coming on, we've got some crackers coming on that are going to sell, and they're also going to generate their own listings. Nearly 10,000 market updates are out now. So, and we've got really hyper-specific this time, but we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, other than that, positive all round. A few exchanges, a few completions. Pretty good all round. How about you, David? Let's switch it up.
Yeah, not
and
bad.
Remember, we have got a guest. So that was a minute.
Oh, yeah, better be very, very brief. So yeah, not bad actually. A bit like you actually, JK. A bit of a quieter week, but it's been welcomed, I have to say. It's allowed me to get on top of things. I'm on a bit of a recruitment drive, as you know, at the moment, trying to find someone to pitch in with valuations and stuff like that on the Relocate brand. So it's allowed me to refocus a little bit. But that said, you know, the diary is pretty full. We've done, I think, 3 take-ons this week. We're negotiating on 10 offers, which is nice. And I think quite a lot of them are very close. There's just one where I'm struggling to get it over the line. Both business owners, buyer and seller, and both quite hard-faced. And, you know, it's tough to get it over the line, that one. But there's some good stuff. And we've got 12 in photography as well. So plenty more to come. But I don't know, it's felt a bit more challenging, I have to say, in the last couple of weeks. It's still a great market, like we always say. Ian bangs on about it every week. You know, if the property's the right price and it's marketed well, you know, things will sell, and they do sell, and it doesn't matter what market you're in. But you always have those transitional periods, don't you, from quiet to busy to busy to quiet to steady. And there's always that lag. And that's where you've got to be really on top of your data, I think, understand what's happening, what the trends are in the market so that you can prepare for it and work in real time rather than just sit still, wait for the shit to hit the fan and vendors to get annoyed and deal with it then. I think you've got to be on top of it every week. And I think we were talking about it in our group, weren't we, briefly, with a couple of the members talking about what do you say to clients.
Can I ask a quick question? In terms of, you know, you said you think it's been a little bit quieter recently. Do you think any of this is due to people holding off to the MPC meeting today, hoping that the interest, because there's a lot of pressure on them, obviously, to cut the interest rate to 4% at the moment, and that would be the biggest cut that they've done for a long time. Do you think that's having an effect on the market in general? And you think people are waiting?
Sure. I don't think people are waiting because, generally speaking, I actually don't think they know. JK, when you're speaking to a lot of clients, you're educating them, and they actually don't know that there's a meeting today. And I think when we put out the result of that at 12:05, I think it'll be a surprise to many people. I think it's probably going to come down today. The strong rumours are that it'll probably come down to 4.25, which I think will be welcomed. But I don't think so. I just think, I read an article this morning about saying how the stamp duty has thwarted the market a little bit. It's slowed things down. And I don't necessarily buy into that. When you look at the average savings that people were making, they're not life-changing amounts. And it goes back to the same thing, doesn't it? People always need to move. So I don't think that these are necessarily going to have huge impacts on the market. When you look at them in detail, what I would say is that the media fuels the market a lot of the time. So, people read things like stamp duty, headlines like that, like I just mentioned there. They'll read about the Bank of England meeting, and whatever newspaper they're reading or newsfeed they're reading that day, generally they'll take that as what's happening. And this is why it's so important for you as the authority in your area to be in front of people every day, talking about it, showing examples of houses that are selling, doing your lives at houses that are coming on the market, and giving them updates on the local market in your area. Because if you're not, then people are just going to take the news and go with it. And we've talked about this before. Again, if you're updating clients, it doesn't matter if it's bad news. You've just got to tell them.
Any news is news. News is news, isn't it?
Well, news is important, particularly when it's related to what you're selling, right? Or you've made a decision. The last thing you want is silence, because that doesn't allow you to make the next decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important just to have your finger on the pulse and just report what you know, what you're seeing, and give context as well. There's no point saying the Bank of England just reduced to 4.25%. Thanks, goodbye. What does that mean? Anybody can see that. You've got to give context.
Well, let's dive in a bit deeper later on. Let's get Ian's week out of the way, and then we could start getting into the value with Sam. Ian,
hard to believe that was only a minute, Dave. Crazy.
Oh, wow.
Time flies.
Firstly, you don't mean get it out of the way because it's the most important of the three of us. So I'll take my time. Thank you very much.
So that's sold a barn conversion, 2%. Right, move on.
I've stolen a lovely barn conversion this week.
Can I just interrupt? I've listed a barn conversion this week.
No,
Thank you.
No, not.
I have.
So in terms of, we're really similar to you lads. Loads of listings. I've got listings coming out everywhere, but no time to get them shot because my diary is absolutely stackoed with other vals. So, ultimately it's a nice problem to have. Ultimately, when I look back to last year, this was the same thing that happened. You get really, really, really busy this time of year. And if you're not busy at this time of year, you've got a problem. And of course, this really busy period now is what will set you up to have a really good end to your year, which is exactly what happened to us last year. So ultimately, fantastic with new listings at the higher end. Sales are happening. We're sort of swelled with available stock, but that same happened last year. So a lot of it is client management. I spoke to a seller yesterday. Basically, it's overpriced. She doesn't believe me, but basically it is overpriced. And she was saying, it's the market. I'm sure it's the market because nothing's selling. And I've sent her an email yesterday detailing what is selling. We've recently sold stuff well over $1 million within a month of it going on the market. So the buyers are there if the price is right, especially character stuff. I'm finding, farmhousey type stuff with a couple of acres and a barn or, that sort of character stuff is super, super sought after because they're rare, So I think the market's in a good place. If the MPC reduce rates today, well, that's brilliant. Although most of the properties we deal with, the bulk of it is cash. We've launched. Did I tell you we've got one at 3.5 mil?
No, you don't mention it actually, mate. No.
So
tell us more about it.
We've launched one at 3.5 million less than 2 weeks ago. We've had 7 inquiries on it already. I did a viewing there yesterday. We've got 3 viewings booked there on Saturday, and they've all proved cash before the viewing. We launched another one at 2.15. I think that's got about 4 viewings booked, and the people are proving the cash before they view now. Well, we're asking buyers for that and ID before they view, and that's working fine.
Sorry, Ian, is that just on that one or on a few?
Just on anything north of 2 mil currently. Yeah, because
so around here, are you asking for proof of funds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proof
So
of
it's
funds are now
actually
done.
cash, not just chain free and a mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah. So proof of the cash. And if you've got a house, everyone so far, apart from one or maybe two, has got the cash to buy it. They're not
Must be
reliant
nice.
on anything at all. But it's going down well. It's going down really well with the sellers, that we're asking for that level of proof before the viewing. It really gives you credibility with your client. And of course, most of them have sent proof for way more cash than they need for the house. So
Yeah.
if they offer, it's not going to be down to affordability.
No.
That's usually the only objection, isn't it? Really, that I can't do it, I can't provide it because they don't want you to know because
No, of
you've
course.
got so much leverage.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think higher end is great. It's really given me confidence in the higher end. We sold one at 2.6 about a month ago, grade 2 listed. Survey happened this week. I was thinking, oh, fuck, because I know she bought it 30 years ago and the roof needed changing then, and she's not done it. So we were all a bit worried. Survey yesterday, no showstoppers. He's got the report. Happy to crack on. I was like, fucking brilliant. So it's really giving me faith in the higher end that, they will sell. These one at 3.5 mil has really, really highlighted to me how much cash. There's so much cash around.
Yeah, mate. It surprised me.
So much money. If you're at like 500, 600, 700, people are tight. They are tight on their budgets. They are tight on what they can afford.
Yeah.
Go higher, there is bucket loads of cash around. And if it's desirable, nice, higher end property, there's no shortage of buyers.
No, and it's more about what they want rather than what they can pay.
Yeah, exactly. If they really love it, it's not about the money.
Right, shall we dive into this week's topic then? We're going to talk about lead gen on our mini-series. We've got special guest Sam here, and no better person to talk about lead gen, having started 2 businesses recently in Australia and helped co-found Home Search. I can remember in the early days on social media, you were everywhere, Sam. I think one of the reasons I think I signed up, I don't know if I can speak for you two as well, but was when you were doing a lot of stuff with Perry, like value add stuff. It wasn't join Home Search. It was like, this is value. And then everyone was like, what's Home Search? And then, Perry shared, I think, a few letter things or something, or a few reports or something at the time. And it was new to the game, wasn't it? And I think back in the day, I think your vision was like, was it 3 tabs on a web browser or something? That was your vision. Don't ask me why I remember that. I remember loads of random things.
CRM, Rightmove, and Home Search.
That's it. So, welcome to the podcast. I know you've said hello already, but welcome. And
thank you.
Do you want to just talk us through, for anyone that doesn't know you, what's your name, where'd you come from, and give us some insight into Sam Hunter.
What a story. I was born in March 1987, the Mard Hospital in Brisbane. Sorry. Ian told me that I only had a minute.
Do we
so
need,
I thought I'd
do we need the soft violin music now as well? Like,
thank you for the very kind words, the intro. I'll give you my abridged version. Been a real estate agent since 2010. Have done a few other things in that time, still am, but I think for my sins will always think of myself as a real estate agent. I'm a tragic, love it, love everything about it, love the fact that it's hard work, love the highs, love the lows.
There's a caption right there. I love the highs, I love the lows. I love that.
For sure. Mate, if you have a shit day, it means a good day's coming, right? Yeah. And if you don't think of it like that, then you got to go and do something else that's not recruitment or hospitality, because it's going to be the same, and that's usually where people end up before and after this job. A little bit about me. Co-founded Home Search. That was a lot of fun. That became a difficult thing to continue to do when I moved my family back home to Australia after COVID. So slowly wound back my operationalness in that. That's not a word, but we'll go with it. Had some very kind support from Giles, our board, loads of people in that business to kind of do that. Probably left a bit early, but I was borderline having a nervous breakdown from working nearly 14 months of like 6 p.m. till 3 a.m. No one should do that. It's not good for your health more than anything else. And then kind of sat around and twiddled my thumbs for like 4 months, figuring out what should I do with my life. Obviously, it was real estate. So I wrangled my best mate, got him to quit his job, started a residential buyers agency with him. We started that in September 2023, so just over 18 months ago. That's gone pretty good. Along the way, bought a small property data company here. We were big users of theirs, but their reports were slow, and I could see they hadn't really updated their information in a while. So I asked them to make it better. They said no. We ended up buying it, and then bought into, not all of, but bought into a mortgage broking business as well, which I'm trying to apply some of the technology skills that I apparently told myself I'd learnt through the home search journey to take that business primarily digital, so that it's kind of like 80% do it on the couch with your buying partner, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, brother, whoever. And then when you're ready to pick a bank, that's when a very empathetic human being steps in and goes, fuck, this feels like a real invasion of privacy, doesn't it? And they go, oh my God, it does. And then we win the business. So that's going pretty well. We've doubled their business in the 12 months since we bought into it. Wow. Talking about lead gen, we'll figure that out along the way. And we are way, way behind the technology thing that we thought we would be. But that's, if you ever built anything to do with technology, that's the way it goes. You have ambitions and you get them there eventually.
Yeah, wicked. I listened to all of that. You'll probably notice, I mean, the listeners can't see on video, but Dave and Ian are both note takers. Like, so you probably, while you were talking there, they were probably both scribbling with a pen, whereas I'm much more of a visual learner. So everything that you're saying is going straight in. So I'm probably going like that, like nodding on the screen as if you're looking.
I have a pad. I mean, again, the podcast goes out. We obviously have some interesting guests on every now and again, but even when we're just chatting, I'm always making notes because something.
I'm the same. Dave, you said you had 10 offers earlier, and I wanted to ask you a question about that. Yeah. And I also got maybe some interesting commentary from the other side of the world about a transitional market. And I also think, Ian, your proof before viewing, that's a listing tool, not a selling tool. If you're not talking to people about why you're different and that you do that in their living room before you've got the listing agreement signed, you're missing business. And I also will completely agree with your point about the high end and the low end. They're the only two markets worldwide that are genuinely doing anything at the moment, because they're the people who've got just enough money to buy something cheap, or they're people who've got more money than God and they don't give a fuck what they spend. The middle market, mums and dads, are finding it really tough. Even though the house is worth a load of more money than it was when they bought it, their wages haven't grown. So the house they want to buy is still a little bit too expensive for them. And that's why that market's floating, right? It's not going up. It's not going backwards. It's just kind of in the middle. But expectations from sellers are here, and expectations and capacity for buyers are here. And that's a really hard gap to close, even if you're a good real estate agent, telling the truth, giving good updates, talking to them every day, all that sort of stuff. Those challenges are in England. Those challenges are in Australia.
Yeah, it's gold that. I mean, again, it's every day, and it's the same robotic conversation you end up having with every single homeowner. Because, I mean, I always say to them, you'll no doubt have an itch to scratch because everybody wants to go on the market a little bit higher than what it's worth normally, which is a bad strategy, particularly in a more challenging or transitional market. And what you've said there is absolutely spot on. If you look at the most areas, I'm finding the average house price 3 or 4 years ago, just as the interest rates were turning, are pretty similar to what they are now. But it's the cost of acquisition that is 100%. Killing people. If I was buying a £500,000-600,000 house 3 or 4 years ago, it's costing me 2.5 to 3 times less on a mortgage. And homeowners need to get that in their head, that it's the cost of acquisition, not the price of the house on paper, that's making it more challenging. And that's why we've got stock levels at a decade-long high and lots of reduced tags on properties. They need to break the mould, accept that the house is not worth perhaps what everybody else is asking, and get the houses sold quicker. It's bonkers, really. But like I say, everybody always has this itch to scratch. So it's a challenge every day in valuations. But again, that's one thing I learned from you, Dave. Though when we were with the data loft, when we've done the valuations there, by using that the chart, going from pre-COVID Jan 2020 to today's bar graph in terms of pound per square foot to show the trends. And then when you draw the arcs between, so I normally draw an arc between, I think you're the same, between Jan 2020, and I normally draw it between August 22 or September 22 when the mini budget happened. Show the price growth between the two periods. And then a lot of the time what happens later on in the graph is that
obviously there's a downward trend and more of a downward sort of leveling off trend. And I articulate by saying, well, look, there's more stock on the market than there has been for the last 10 years. It's a decade high. But, let me tell you why the growth's happened here and why prices are doing that here. Well, in this section here, if your house is £1 million, for example, a buyer leveraging 800k in this arc, at the end of the graph here, it's probably costing them 3.5k. In this arc here, it's costing them 8. So, and with 20% VAT on private school fees as well, that's a consideration at this end of the market. You can see why, there is that gap between, expectation and affordability, and it's bridging it, because as crazy as it sounds, £1 million house isn't what it was 20 years ago. The mid-market, the norm where I am anyway, I mean, maybe in certain parts of the country it was, but where I am, your average 4-bed detached at the moment, Joe Bloggs, is probably, I don't know, 550, 600 grand. It's slowly creeping up, so something with, a 5-bed detached at, 2,500 square feet with a decent garden on estate, that's knocking on the door for £1 million. And that is now becoming your almost average family home in some places. Like, we'll just above that.
I'll give you an interesting tidbit about our market, right? So prices have doubled in 5 years in Brisbane. So from everyone shitting the bed in 2020 when we didn't know what was going to happen in the world, to some early movers in June, July buying houses pretty cheap, to interest rates going down to near zero, house prices have doubled in 5 years. They've tapered off only really twice for about 3 months in that period. And we had interest rates that went up by 4% in that time as well. People were like, fuck this, it's still cheap, let's go and buy a house. Right? Because we had a mismatch of wages and house prices, because where I am in Brisbane, it's a kind of big country town that's growing up into a city. And it changed a lot for the 7.5 years that I was away. And it's changed a lot in the 3.5 years that I've been home. And what people are struggling with now is that they've seen 1.5% price growth every month for such a considered period of time that they're like, I'm going to a barbecue and someone's telling me that they wanted $1.5 million for their house, which is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house on a big block of land, right? In a nice part of the world where it doesn't rain very often, so it's okay. Maybe with a swimming pool. And they're like, we wanted 1.3 and we got 1.5. How good's that? Then this person now is like, well, I want 1.6 because my house should be worth more than theirs a year later. But the reality is it's probably worth 1.5 because they haven't gone back, but we've all stopped because wages and affordability has caught up to the market. And now everyone is buying at the top of their budget, except for low end and high end. And so every month, something that should sell for $3 million here sells for 3.5 because there's 3 rich people going, fuck it, this is a cool house. I want to buy this house. I'm going to live here for a long time. Prestige market's always going to do its thing because there's always enough people that'll show Ian proof of funds to go and buy a house, right? That's the same everywhere in the world. But it's the people stuck in the middle who bought the starter home, then want to buy the family home, then might want to downsize. Those people, or people who go through life changes, job changes, divorces, whatever it might be, they're the people that feel stuck, right? Because it costs so much money to move house and the houses are worth so much more money. Like we got the better part of 600,000 people look at a video we put on the internet because it was a knockdown that sold for $1.4 million.
What does that mean?
And,
knock down the house, you mean?
Yeah, knockdown house, like a shitbox that got knocked out. A builder
I didn't know it was
bought
like a knockdown price and like a cheap price.
Yeah, no, just a really. It was actually quite a livable, nice house. Like they painted it, they put air conditioning in all the rooms. You could have rented it for like $700 a week, but it was probably not worth 1.4. Yeah. But the guy's mum lived 2 doors down and he was a builder, and him and another builder who wanted to build a house there for himself as well pushed each other up to 1.4. And we just happened to video the whole thing, put it on the internet, and it went nuts.
Oh, wow.
Because people can't afford that. $1 million house should be a nice house, not a knockdown.
So let's go back to lead gen then, because I think to be fair, we were going to say lead gen, but we've packed a shed load of value, I think, in 24 minutes already for anyone that wants to update their clients and kind of get in tune with the market. So to maximize what we get out of you, Sam. So your strategy, like let's go to home search first of all, because that worked really well. I guess that's a little bit more B2B than B2C, but what was your strategy, I guess, was value first in the beginning. It always has been, but
yeah, still is.
What was the strategy? How did you spin Home Search up from who the hell is Home Search to we've got to sign up?
So when I moved to England, I thought I was okay at real estate. I'd done it for a little while. I'd been exposed to people who were very good, in my opinion. Anyway, like people who were making a lot of money weren't fuckwits. And people that would give me the time of day, I'd ask them a question, they'd give me an answer, we'd figure it out, right? That's not very common, turns out. I get to England, I think, shit, am I going to be able to prove myself here? I walk into Marsh & Parsons, shout out to any of your listeners that either work there now or have done in the past. And on day 2, I went home and I said to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, I was like, this place sucks. Like, no one rings their clients. No one does anything. Like, they don't have a data system to go and look at what a house might be worth or how many bedrooms it might have or whatever it was, right? Q, where Home Search came from eventually. And I sort of realized that maybe not everybody did real estate the way I was taught to and the way I was brought up to, right? And I was very fortunate. So when Home Search rolled around, I was like, and we learnt some lessons with Home Search. Like, we built a product that was only really good for people that knew what they were doing. We should have built something really dumb and gone to the mass market. What we built was like a Ferrari, and then only people who could drive a manual car were able to use it. And we learnt those lessons along the way. But the entire marketing strategy was, I want to talk about real estate. I want to go and find my people, right? So I just started talking about all the things that I took for granted that I thought were like best practice, that were the basics. Mark Worrell and I hit it off. First night he and I ever went out, we got super drunk and went to a gay bar. And then the podcast was born. There's a photo of me and Mark on London Bridge with like rainbow things on our cheeks. And we sent it to his wife and my girlfriend. And we're like, we think we're going to be mates. Yeah. And world-class agency came off the back of that. But he was the same thing. He was like, man, we like talking shit about real estate. We should like put a microphone in front of us and see where it happens. And he's in the north, I was in London, and we did it. And like, yeah, there was an element of like, he's Sam from Home Search, but it was all about how do we add value to the people that we want listening, right? Who are the people that we actually want to do business with? Who do we want to hang out with? Who do we want to go for beers and gay clubs with? So I started talking about what I thought was right.
Dave Warburton, actually. That's the kind of thing you do,
for
Dave.
Sure.
Probably did.
Yeah. He looks like he'd have fun there, Dave. Look at him. Hey, that was the only time he hasn't been taking notes because he already has the notes.
Yeah. Right? You could just see it now in his head. Right.
Exactly. I've been found out on a podcast and all things. It's lucky that this isn't visual because you can see the flags behind you, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I just wanted to talk about the thing that made me interesting. Like I was super interested in it. I would read a book at that point in time in my life, like pre-marriage, pre-kids, pre-nervous breakdown. I was reading a book every week. I don't know if I've consumed any knowledge since all of those things happening. But I was like, how do I share this? Like, how do I apply this to real estate? How do I like find a way to have a better conversation with somebody about why their house might not be worth what it's worth? Because if you say it's the market, they say, fuck you, the last agent told me that. But if you can talk about families are finding it really tough and affordability's moved beyond most of the people who are looking for your home, it's not your fault, it's not their fault, it's not my fault. It's the reality. You get to decide. That's so much better than someone who's not being paid 2%, Ian, going in there saying, oh, it's the market. We need to reduce your price. So yeah, we just like Home Search was built off that podcast and a weekly email where I would like James Clear style. And I don't mean to sound like I think I'm James Clear, but it was one email every week with like, this is what I'm thinking about this week. Read it or don't. I don't really care. And that got us 5,500 people using that product. And that like we had a carrot to dangle on Home Search as well, which was like, you can use it for free in 2019 if you tell 2 mates about it. So that grew us pretty quickly, right? And then we turned the tap of monetization on second week of February, just as this weird little like cough in China was starting to be talked about of 2020. And then we made an executive decision that we would not charge people until lockdown was over. And that was one of the best things we ever did for our business. And then whenever lockdown was lifted, which I think was in June 2020, the first lockdown, I remember Phil, our CFO, I was like, Phil, how's like, we turned the tap on, how are the numbers? He's like, we're drowning in cash. And I was like, fuck yeah, how good's this? So thank you, gents, because you were part of that. it went pretty well for a little while there, which was good. We learned a few lessons. We grew too quickly. We hired some excellent people. We hired some less than excellent people. We lost sight of what we were really good at because we wanted to try and be good at everything. This is just fucking business problems, right? And that's probably the business aspect that I've learnt most, and it's why I'm desperate to have a few different lanes, but stay in each of those lanes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Sam, I remember the emails that you used to send, I think, and they were quite snappy, weren't they? They weren't long. They were just
for sure. It was literally like, this is what I'm thinking about this week, and it's like, here's what I'd say if I was on evaluation, or like we used to do like emails of like, we thought we were going to do this in the business this week, but we fucked up, so we're going to do something else. We had this product ready to go, and we weren't charging anyone for it. So Giles and I needed to find a way of like garnering attention in this lockdown period where no one was really doing anything, but we also needed to show people that we were pretty capable from a technological perspective as well. So we built a portal in 6 weeks and made everybody think that we were going to like take over the world. We had no money, right? We weren't charging anyone to do anything, and we were paying people still. Like no one in our business got furloughed.
I remember that there was a holding page, wasn't there? Like, you know,
yeah.
And
it was like sign up and see what we could do. And we were like, if enough people sign up to it, we'd probably think about it. But then like we costed out what it would take for us to like rival on the market back then. And it was millions of pounds.
Yeah.
And like we didn't have that money, and we would not have been able to raise that money without giving our souls away, which we ended up doing anyway down the line.
But you
that's
did
another
pivot,
story.
though. That point though, that came around from fast execution, because Rightmove was at a real like
they fucked up big time at that point. Like they did not read the room.
No. And you capitalised on that, and I think you got a lot of sign-ups and interest from people. Like even if they intended to do nothing with it, you captured on that the market in the moment at that time, executed perfectly, saying, you know, we're going to do this. If there's enough interest, sign up here. And next thing you know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got hundreds of thousands of estate agent emails flying in expressing interest. It
was like just over 10,000 emails in 6 weeks, which was cool. And like we pretty much opened our entire business up. And I'm sure some of the competitors out there watch those webinars and are like, oh, that's a good idea. We should do that. And that's fine. Like that work with business. It is what it is, right? You're good or you're not. You're definitely not original.
No.
And so, that was, again, we learned heaps, and I learned about the value of attention at that point in time. And so like with everything that we're doing now, like we focus on education and attention. And I would say in the marketing that we do in the businesses that we have here now, 80% of it is really high quality, high level education. So like I'm having a conversation with you guys, with Chase, my business partner. We do a podcast every week about buying houses, and we talk about how we buy houses. We talk about the questions that we ask. We talk about when a real estate agent says back to us, like, are you proceedable? We talk about what that really means, because most people are like, fuck does that mean? Right. And out of that 15-minute conversation comes 4 to 6 45-second clips that we can put on the internet, right? Now those, at the moment anyway, those get about 3,000 views every video that we put out. But once a week we put out a walkthrough video of a house that's sold, and we give our opinion on it, and that gets 40 to 400,000 views every week. And that's what builds our base. The shitty, cheesy TikTok doom scroll stuff gets the attention, and then the right people, the people that we want to serve, watch the 45 seconds on how to buy a house better, and 6 weeks, 6 months, maybe one day, 6 years later, they get it. They send us a DM and they're like, hey, help us. And we get 2 of those every day, guaranteed.
And that's no like and trust, isn't it? Like,
they're like, hey, I've listened to you. I downloaded your book. Like I wrote a book on buying a house, which is that's how the podcast started, because my business partner has not been in real estate ever. So I was like, I need to give you the blueprint of how to do what I think is a good job, and we'll find out if that's right or not. So I wrote him a book. And then I was like, we should probably sell this book. And then we ended up just giving the book away, because we thought it's the right thing to do, right? And it does really well. Like people, like I read the book, like I've done the exercises, I've listened to the podcast, I follow you on Instagram. What do you cost? That's the question. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing we don't really talk about, because we want the lead.
Yeah.
And then, our conversion rate is exceptional. We don't really miss to other buyers agents, but I think that's also because other buyers agents charge a percentage commission and we charge a fixed fee, which in some cases means we are cheaper. And so I think sometimes we do win on fee, and I'm happy to say that. And it works for our business. That is our business model. But I also think if we're trying to make something cheaper and the market is rising and our client has to pay more, we shouldn't get paid more, right? We've done our job. We've found the right house, but they've had to pay
If your
the money.
client has to pay more, because it's different, isn't it? Like that's where I
You
guess
guys, it makes sense. They're getting more. Charge them more.
Yeah,
You're doing your
100%.
job. But from our side, it's a fee for service and it's fixed fee, and it is genuinely the same workload to buy a unit for $750,000 as it is to buy a house for $4 million. Same process, same workload, same relationships.
So can we drill down a little bit into the process and try and maybe, how we can relate this for listeners into like day-to-day agency and growing their businesses and lead generation from your perspective. So what's the strategy, obviously, on socials there you've mentioned quite heavily. So, and I guess some of that kind of leans into what we kind of preach to a lot of people in terms of showing, not telling, if that makes sense, showing people on social media. We don't. You again, if anyone listens that follows us on social media, we don't go on Facebook and Instagram and go, we're brilliant, we sell houses at 2% and blah blah blah. What we do is we show people what we're doing, not maybe TCA members and clients necessarily, but the public, if that makes sense, the general public out there on social media. And people gravitate towards your brand because they want that kind of marketing. You're showing them high quality marketing. They're going, well, look, if they're going to do that for that house, I wonder how good my house could look. There's all different sort of, I suppose, facets of marketing. What was your number one strategy with Happy Buyers Club to kind of generate leads initially? What was your sit down sort of strategy? Because it doesn't sound like you do direct mail, unless I'm wrong. It's much more social led.
Yeah, I've not knocked on a door. I've not made a cold call. I've not sent any letters. We did think about doing it for like our clients, like again, home search style. Like you tell us you want to buy a 4-bedroom house in this suburb. Let's go and find all the 4-bedroom houses, send them a letter, all that sort of stuff. But actually, we got 2 clients. We've got our clients, and then we've got real estate agents. And if we were to get a house sale directly from a seller, well, they'd stop sending us all the other ones that they have off market or whatever it may be, right? So we work really hard to protect those relationships as well. Our strategy is the same shit that we've been talking about on world-class real estate for 5 years, right? It is consistent video on Instagram for the most part. We do a bit on TikTok, but Instagram, we identified that I'm fortunate enough in that business that I get to go to work with my best mate every day. So we can have a conversation like this. Because you and I are known to each other, we can talk like mates, right? We can talk fast. We can understand each other. We can banter. So there's not a lot of dead air on that show. And so if you can have a 15-minute once a week podcast where someone can listen to it while they're driving to work or driving their kids to school or whatever it might be, and it helps them set their weekend up to hopefully go and buy a house on their own, then they talk about it, they listen to it, they follow it, they share it with their friends who are also, real estate's a topic of conversation, right? You don't go to a barbecue or a dinner party, wherever you are in at least England and Australia, you don't really talk about anything other than real estate, or at least you talk about it once, right? And so if someone's like, you should listen to these guys, that works really well for us. And everybody who inquires to us has listened to more than one episode of our show. We have an audience that creates listeners to that show via the clips that we put out on Instagram, via the behind the scenes stuff that we do. Like when we go through a house, we don't take a photo of the house at the front and we're like off market with Dennis Nazar, $1.8 million. We'll take a photo of like the cute reading nook and we'll say it's a vibe, right? Because our ideal client is like our wives, mums, time poor, don't want to do anything. We can empathize with that, right? Because we are also living that life. So what is the stuff that would be interesting and engaging to them? For sure. We found this real niche where we take photos of like tiles in bathrooms and laundries and things like that. And we're like, do you like these tiles? Because like, I think tiles actually really make or break a room. Yeah. Like, and so I'm like, I'm vibing these, I'm not vibing these. People love it. It's fucking weird, right? Didn't think that was not part of the plan, but people like it. And because they click like that, I want number 1 or number 2, and it's not real estate. It's not like us walking down the high street in our linen clothes, crossing a fucking like zebra crossing, saying like, we've just bought a house off market. How good. We're not doing a financial year wrap of how many millions of dollars of houses we've sold. We're talking about how we buy houses and hopefully helping other people. And then every now and again, we do a profile of an area where we're like, here's Coorparoo. If you want to buy a unit in Coorparoo, you need to be prepared to spend 800 grand. If you want to buy an entry-level house, you've got to spend 1.1. If you want to buy a family home, it's $2 million. And if you have lots of money, you can spend anywhere from 3 to 10.
So right? I think listening to what you just said there, mate, sorry, I'll let you continue in a second. But what I just got from that was the social media, but the overarching theme is what I would call edutainment.
Yeah, it's the same as home search, but just better. It's better now than it was back then because I don't care. Like, we just do it. We don't care if it sucks. Like Instagram will tell us if we put out a video and it's flat, no one looks at it, so it doesn't matter. We put out a video and it's good. Like not to pump up one of your podcast competitors, but I had this same conversation with Simon, I don't know, months ago. Released the episode, Simon, by the way. I know you listened to this. It's like, release the Snyder Cut. It was a good episode.
He's walking his dog's listening to this now.
But he asked me the same question. He's like, how many views do you get? And I was like, let's post a video. And I posted a video at the start of the conversation and we came back to it like 30 minutes in and it had 15,000 views, right? And it was a walkthrough of a really nice house that had sold in Annerley, which is a suburb that is nice, but not that nice. And all these people are like, fuck yeah, I'm interested in that. That's a good result. Was
that a picture, Sam? Did you say a picture or a video?
It was a video. It was a walkthrough. It was like, this is what $2.2 million buys you in Annerley. And it was a 60-second walkthrough. So we pull out our phones, walk through. We only do it on houses we're not going to buy because we don't want to put our clients' business on the internet. And we only do it for properties that have sold so that the audience gets an actual result, like something tangible. If we walk through a house that was going to auction or didn't have a price on it or was still for sale, all we're doing is helping the agent sell that house. That's not our job, right? Our job is to help people understand what they might have to pay to buy a house like that. And that's people have started copying us now, which is really flattering. And they're just going through houses that have been on the market for ages. And they're like, here's what you can get in Wynnum. Contact this agent if you want to do that. And I'm just like, get off them, you know? Sorry, that was very real for Dave. You could tell. So yeah, like that stuff that gets the attention, and then the stuff that no one can replicate, which is conversation like this, like us actually proving that we know what we're talking about. A bit like Ian making sure people get proof of funds, like us being able to have a conversation for 15 minutes without taking a breath proves to people that we know what we're talking about. Right. And
I think we're passionate as well. That's the other thing. Like everyone on this podcast talking today loves a estate agency, loves the hustle, loves business. And it's the same with our listenership as well. You know, the ladies and gents that listen to this, the majority are business owners. And want to strive in the premium markets, and if they're not in the premium markets, they want to get in the premium markets, or they love the estate agency industry in general, property industry in general. So one thing I really took, I think the whole pod so far has been packed full of value, and I think the edutainment part of it, I'm going to call it, I'm going to copyright that. That's not actually a real word, but I do get the whole, and I think sometimes we can be guilty of a little bit too much of and you said it in such a way where, you know, this house just sold and, you know, kind of willy waving, for want of a better phrase, you know, we've just sold this at, you know, 3.5 million. We had cash buyers. We've just completed on X amount, blah, 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 blah. Well, this doesn't really resonate with your target buyer, your target client a lot of the time, you know, whereas you are kind of getting under the skin on the algorithm on places like Instagram by, you know, things like the tile. I love the tile thing, by the way. I think that's really cool, and that will really kind of connect with a certain type of demographic where they'll go, yeah, love them tiles. Don't like. I'm just going to shout out Tanya Baker here as well, because I don't know if you're following her 100%. House renovation project.
She's the gold standard.
Do you know what? She just absolutely kills social media. Like, she is the kill, and she's proved this by she just bought a house with her boyfriend Nathan, I think his name is. Sorry if that's wrong. And she's just set up an Instagram account, and they've got like about 8 videos on there now, and she's already got like 10,000 followers from like setting up an Instagram account in 5 months. Got like tens of thousands of views. But what it is, and it just, like, what made me think of Tanya just then was, she did a video the other day talking about her terracotta bathroom tiles and cleaning them in this house renovation that she's bought. And people love it. They're all commenting, going, "Oh yeah, that's Omega bathrooms from the 70s, blah 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 blah." And then somebody else, but what she's very very clever with is she will she's not afraid to throw something out there. Like she'll say, "Oh, like a boomer bathroom," I think she called it. And then there was loads of people on there that were like, "I'm a boomer and I don't disapprove of this bathroom." But then all of a sudden, they're feeding the algorithm because the people that read in the comments, the video's playing in the background, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows. So I do think, and certainly it's something I've taken away from the pod today, is maybe we need to think less about selling the house on social sometimes. Yes, we need to get that across with the previews, but maybe we need to focus on some of the little details within the houses that we're selling, with little micro videos with opinions and polls to kind of drive interest and followers, because you kind of indirectly are going to bring people into your sphere. And people come on social media to be entertained, isn't it? It's entertainment ultimately at the end of the day. And the longer people are on your platform watching your videos, the more likely they are. And the proof's in the pudding with you, Sam, because you've just done 10K, haven't you, now on Instagram? Congratulations.
Thank you. Vanity metric, but I'll take it.
but it's as you just said, there are leads consistently now coming through that platform to you that have been educated and entertained and now want to do business with you.
I'll give you and the listeners proof that this will work for you guys. So our follower base started growing exponentially. Our podcast listenership exploded, and the leads started going from 1 a week to probably 1 a day within 2 weeks of us releasing a podcast about selling a house. Right? And I've sold fuckload more houses than I've bought. Right? And I still think I know what I'm doing on that side of the table. And so we were getting DMs from a few people, and they were like, "Hey, we're thinking about moving. We really think we want to buy before we sell because we don't want to be homeless, but our agent's saying we should really sell first. Is that just because they want to get paid?" And I was like, fuck no. You should definitely sell your house first, because then you're, one, not going to be on the hook for 2 houses if you can't sell yours, and you'll just mathematically know what you can and can't spend. You won't get carried away. You'll have way less stress. It'll probably happen faster. And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's exactly what they told me," but I didn't believe them. I was like, "Okay, why do you believe me?" And they're like, "Well, you're not a sales agent." Yeah. And I was like, "Hey, is there something in this?" And again, we did a podcast all about how I would sell my house. And I was like, there's no way I would sell my house off market. Like, no way. Right? I probably wouldn't put 20 grand in it like some agents are asking. I would probably do the minimum amount to get me the maximum, right? So like good portal ads, probably some intelligent social spending. I'd clean my gardens. I'd house wash my house. I'd fix anything that needed to be fixed. I'd paint it if I needed to, right? So I'd invest money in the right place. I'd interview probably more than 3 agents. I wouldn't pick the guy that was the cheapest. I wouldn't pick the guy that gave me the highest valuation. I'd want them to show me what houses like mine have been selling. Were they auctioned? Do they have a price? Were they no price? How long did they take to sell? Who's in their team? All this sort of shit, right? And we did. We're just about to do another one now because we think we can go deeper. 1, I think we can get more like viral clips from it. But 2, I think we can add a bit more value as well, right? So there's strategy and there's all truicity. I don't know if that's a word. Yeah. But all these people like started following us and DMing us, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is what our agents told us, but we just thought they wanted to get paid." That was the saying, right? And so, but it was also like, what does good marketing look like? Why would you invest money in styling, right? And so imagine you're sitting there, and Ian, I'm going to use you in the proof of funds thing again, right? So you're sitting there and you're just like, why would we make it harder for somebody to view a house? And it's like, well, we don't want everybody in a house if it's $2.5 million. We want the right people. We want somebody who can actually buy that house on that day, not somebody who might buy it in 9 months' time and screw over the better buyer because we already had a contract on it, right? Like we want to avoid the even opportunity to gazump or the opportunity for somebody to pull out. And that means having a really tough conversation with every buyer up front, and they'll benefit from it as well, because if they like the house, they're the only one that's going to be in it, right? So just having these coming back to your way earlier question, James, about what was the strategy. The podcast was the strategy because it started off as a role play between Chase and I. So I was like, the first time you say this shit, I don't want it to be in front of someone, It should be in front of me, and I'm an asshole. and I'll be very direct, and I'll give you the kind of feedback that you won't like, but you'll learn from. And again, I don't think it would work if we put anyone else into this business, because I am an asshole and I am very direct, and I will give feedback that people will learn from. Anyone who's worked with me will know that. But it worked, right? And we were having these kind of conversations where we were going back and forth and bouncing things off. And I was saying things quite clearly that I don't think I've ever said before. And I was like, fuck, we need to remember that. And so we pulled our phones out, started recording it. And we were like, this is probably useful for like an audience. Let's do this. And it wasn't camera. Like, if you go back to there's only 400 posts on our Instagram. I would urge you to go and look at the first 3. Holy hell, they're bad. My God. They are phone, like microphone up the shirt. I'm wearing a collared shirt. I haven't worn a collared shirt in 18 months. Since that video, I was like, I'm going to burn that shirt. It's so bad, right? But it's like me trying to remember the words that I wanted to say instead of knowing what to say, because I'm in a conversation and it's all in here. And I remember the turning point for Chase in our content as well, because it used to be he'd ask me a question, I'd answer it, right? So all the early videos are me, and then they switch to him because he's better looking than me. He has a way less nasally accent than me, and he's actually probably a clearer, just more confident speaker than I. He's a lot better at a lot of stuff than I am now, and that's because he's invested more time than anybody with 2 kids probably should in getting better, right? But there was the switch for him was I stuck him in my car, put a microphone on the seatbelt, and held my phone, and I was like, I'm going to ask you 30 questions. And just answer them. If you don't know it, who gives a fuck? But you can't read notes. You can't look at a screen. You can't go and find your phone to think about what to say. And ideally, you won't think about what to say because we'll crash the car, right? So you need to concentrate on driving, and whatever comes out, comes out. And we drove for 45 minutes. He didn't miss a beat. So he realized how much he had like internalized from all of our conversations. From like, we were joined at the hip for the first 6 months. We did every single appointment together. Every phone call was on speakerphone. So he could hear it. He could hear what they were saying, what I was saying back. We'd talk about every conversation after that, right? And then he suddenly found the confidence that some of it had sunk in because we're driving around, not crashing a car, thankfully. And I was just like, what do you do in a multiple offer situation? And he'd be like, bang, and it'd be from a buyer's agent perspective, from a real estate agent perspective, and from a buyer's perspective as well. And from there, it was like, cool, well, we're just going to have a conversation every Monday morning at 8 o'clock for 15 minutes, and we're going to talk shit about the weekend, and people will listen to it, weirdly. And here we are. Like mildly.
Here we are every week at 9:15.
Our business is okay. It's not massive, but we do pretty well.
But 10K is not to be sniffed at. I mean, there's a lot of estate. I mean, we're not at 10K on Instagram by any stretch. We're growing. We're nearly at 3. But I do think the missing link on our Instagram, like our kind of reels that we started to do with the voiceover overlays is working well, and some of them have gone viral. But I do think it's the entertainment factor that I think is maybe missing for maybe all of us. I mean, people love looking at homes, but I think sometimes maybe there's that missing piece from each house where you can just ask a short video with a poll of do you like these tiles, or is this a vibe, or whatever it is your personality kind of like is lured to. Is it which kitchen do you prefer? These latest listings, was it kitchen A or kitchen B? Which one could you, those kind of things where they're quick 10-second videos that people can have an opinion on, and they're much more likely to go viral.
What's a nice village near you, JK?
I've got loads. Harold, Lavender.
Right. So imagine you jumped in your car after this podcast, whenever this podcast is going to finish, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're there yet, maybe we're not. Who knows? But imagine you jumped in your car and you went to Lavender, you pull your phone out and you put video on, and you did a little 3-second scroll of 35 different houses in Lavender, right? Then you come back to your, we've got a video editor. That's the only, we employ a video editor and a virtual assistant. Everything else is Chase and I. We don't edit a video ever. And we now, thankfully, don't do a lot of the repetitive process menial work, which just frees us up to spend more time on the telephone trying to find opportunities for our clients, right? But we had to earn the right to do that, and we wanted to make sure that our process was good and we weren't just saying it was good. But imagine you did that and then you found a video editor on People Per Hour or Fiverr for probably 25 quid, and you sent them those clips, and then you recorded on your very nice microphone a voiceover that was like, spend 60 seconds in Lavender with me. And you just spoke about what you know about that town or that village, right? If you want to buy a little detached house, it's worth this. The prestige market's worth this. This is the best place to get your meat and your bakery and all this sort of shit from. If you put that on the internet, that will go fucking mental.
You reckon?
Mental. And everyone will try and copy you, but they're not you.
So 60 seconds in X village, basically.
Yep, spend 60 seconds in Lavendon with me. And you did that once a fortnight for the rest of your life. And you put price, like you want to buy a little terraced house, you want to buy a flat above the pub, it costs this. And it's just average pounds per square foot, average prices. You got all that data, boys, right?
Yeah.
So don't just use the data with your clients in the living room. Spread the love and make it cool, right? And then the same thing, anything you've sold, just be like, hey, here's what 2.5 million buys you in Tarpley, right? That's you, I think, Ian, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
There you go. Just don't put the portion of video in. You still want to be one of the common men.
It's a Range Rover for Ian.
Is it? An upgrade or a downgrade? I don't know.
Doing this sort of stuff as well, I think it's overwhelming for a lot of people because they don't know what to do and they don't consistently do it. You'll see people do it. Like I've got a mate who's a tiler, and he's a really good tiler, and you know when he's no business because he's on social media showing off his tiling, and that's the only time he does it. Like you probably a couple of times a year, and I just think Gaz is quiet, and why is he quiet? Well, I don't know, but he's advertising on social media again, and it's about twice a year. That's it. And you'll get to a busy period in his year, and if you look back at his social posts, it'll be like 6 months before that he'd last posted. And I think it's similar in a estate agency. Your people will do something, they'll get busy, like spring is a busy time for selling houses, and then they stop their lead gen, they turn it off, rather than doing it consistently and having it booked in. Obviously, we're advocates of direct mail, and it's something that we all do religiously, monthly, quarterly. We always talk about our social marketing mix, where you can, the stuff that you can just do when you're at houses, which is easy, but people forget to do it. But then there's all this stuff as well that you're talking about, Sam, which is gold, absolute gold, and it needs scheduling. And I also think that it needs to be something that you are a little bit interested in and would enjoy doing. Because again, you'll just see some client, or it's not client, sorry, it's some competitor just put out the odd poll, and you'll never see one again. Or they'll come on one of the local groups, and then you'll never see them again. And it's this imitation is the biggest form of flattery, isn't it? A lot of people like to copy. But the reality is that the medium is the camera. Everybody's got a camera. We've had a bit of a conversation recently about people copying, other companies copying what you're doing, and it's getting easier perhaps with the amount of photographers that are out there, the amount of videographers that are advertising the services. But ultimately, that's just the medium. You've got to come up with something creative. You've got to think about stuff because the 100%. Algorithms like entertainment. That's what they're feeding now. They are feeding stuff that you are watching and that you're talking about and that you're interested in and searching online. So you do have to find stuff to stay relevant. And I think what you've spoken about today is absolute gold. And I think loads of people can take stuff and property related and make it interesting, but equally do it consistently. I think that's the key here.
Nobody knows what they're doing. Like we didn't know what we were doing when we started, right? And that's why we did the 30 questions thing, because I was like, if we get 30 pieces, like 30 questions that are common, right? So, and I'd say if there are two things that I can leave your listeners with that we have used consistently and they have generated us hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, it is pick somewhere that you like, get some B-roll that is 50 clips that are all 3 seconds, pick the best ones that go up to about a minute, and then find a good microphone and do a voiceover. Anyone can do the video stuff, right? But let's use the three of you guys. You're going to have wit and banter and intelligence in your voiceover. That's why people listen to us, right? Because we throw some jokes in there. We're not like lavish about the shit that we go and look at or the suburbs. We talk about what they really are, right? Because that's the reality. So people can build trust with us. Like JK, one of the notes that I said, what you were talking about earlier is you mentioned like really high quality marketing. I don't think what we do is exactly high quality. It's iPhones and an SLR for a wide shot, like a Rich Roll podcast, because I copied his idea of how he structures it, right, on Instagram. But our content is very authentic. So like we sound the way we sound, we talk the way we talk. When you meet us in real life, it is the guys from the internet. I had a couple in here before And we were having a conversation. It was the first time I ever met them. And they're like, this is really surreal for us. And I was like, fucking imagine how weird it is for me hearing that, right? So it would be find your village or villages or a street, probably not a street because I don't think there's enough meat on the bone and you can't talk about varying price points. But go around and film that village and tell everybody what you can buy from the cheapest to the most averages. No more than like 4 or 5 property types, right? Tell them your favorite baker, the favorite butcher. If this was Chris Watkin doing this, he'd talk about the bloody butcher shop that his family owns, right? Because it's authentic and because people want to know where the best butcher in Grantham is. It's the same thing for you blokes, right? You don't have to go and interview them because that's scary and that's hard. Just 3-second pan across of the meat in the front room, right? That's it. And then go and figure out what that looks like. You know, spend 60 seconds in Lavenden with me. Lavenden is a great town. It's this far from town. It's got this and that and the other. If you're thinking about buying here, you can start here. You could go here. You can end up right up here if you have more money than God or whatever it might be. Best place to get a coffee is this. Best bakery is this. If you want a date night, go here. And there's a really lovely town square that the kids can go and play in the summer when the weather's out like it is today. Let us know in the comments where you want me to do next. Done.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you said, Dave, that you have to plan that out. Well, just do it whenever you go to the next village, right? It takes 20 minutes to get all of that content, so it's a reasonable amount of time, but it will pay dividends. And if you can be consistent with it, we do one of those a week and we do one walkthrough a week and we get our walkthrough on a Saturday. The first open home we go to on a Saturday, we always get there early and it's never one we're going to buy. And we just walk through. Our client walkthrough videos have a landscape view because you get more of the house and it's more important. The internet walkthroughs get a portrait view because it's just for the internet, right? And by the time we're rolling into our first open home, meeting a client, actually thinking about buying a property, we've got our marketing for next week sorted and it's at the video editor. All we've got to think about is what we're going to say. And then we pull out these microphones and hopefully we don't stumble over our words like too many times. We never do it right the first time. We just get it done. So that's the first thing I'd suggest everyone do. And then the second thing is whether you're self-employed, personal estate agent, which seems to be the new way of describing it these days, employed, business owner, working in a partnership, who cares? Write down the 30 questions that every buyer has and write down the 30 questions that every seller has. I bet you a lot of them are the same. Answer them on camera, right? And then pay to get those answers edited. Because then if you do nothing else for the rest of your life, you've got a video you can put on the internet every single day. And if someone watches the video on the 8th of May, by the time the 8th of June rolls around, they'll forget that they've watched it or they won't see it. And you can post the same video and someone else will see it. We started the podcast off the back of having those 30 videos. For whatever reason, we found our groove with this. We've never had to repeat content, but we've got it all there if we need to, right?
The questions are always the same, aren't they?
Yeah, over Christmas, we played the classic hits of 2024, right? We just put the same shit on the internet. We went like, these are our top 10 most viewed videos. Let's post them again. And you know what? 2 of them are in the top 10 again, right? Because we had a bigger audience, more people saw them, more people shared them. It's not rocket science. It's just I can figure out what, like, real estate sucks. That is actually the tagline of our buyer's agency, right? Is real estate sucks. Because it does. And when you say that to someone, they're like, yeah, man, you get me. And that's marketing, right? If you can get someone to feel like they understand me, that is the purpose of marketing, of brand, of whatever you want to call it. So if you can start answering questions where it's like, people are scared of getting gazumped. Well, let's talk about how you can avoid that. Get a reservation agreement. Do this, do that. Proof of funds, whatever it might be, right? It takes 9.5 months for most people to buy a house. Here's why. Here's how you can stop that, you know?
Yeah.
If you're not getting any viewings, you know, might be price. That's the hard reality. But there's probably a few other things and levers you want to pull first. Here's how we'd suggest it. And like, give the game away. Because they might go and buy a house on their own, but there's no fucking way they're going to sell their house on their own. So they will come to you.
Yeah. And the thing is, everyone else is scared to do it as well, aren't they? Because they don't want to look like they don't know the answer. But sometimes they don't know the answer themselves. You know, that's one of the biggest problems with a estate agency sometimes is that, you know, if a estate agency is an airplane, sometimes there's somebody in the cockpit that's never flown a plane before.
Yep. We've all been that person when we started. We're all that person, right? But we just made a decision to try and get better a little bit every day. And then we all thought we were fucking shit hot and our businesses went backwards for the better part of at least half a year because we thought we were better than everybody else. when we just forgot what got us there in the first place, right? And that was the first lesson you learn, right? And then you get better again. And then ideally you make a different mistake the next time. Like, if you don't know the answer, the beautiful thing is the video probably doesn't get posted in this respect, right? So it'd be like, find a buddy, do a role play, put the camera on you, get them to ask you a question, you answer it looking at them so you're not feeling the pressure of looking at a camera, and then stick it on the internet and hope for the best. If it's good, loads of people are going to see it. That's good. If it's shit, no one's going to see it. That's also good.
Yeah.
Mate, I think I could probably listen to you for another 2 hours.
Yeah, it's written down as you've been talking. I've written down my next 3 YouTube videos.
Are you still here, Ian?
Yeah. He said, "You said, are you still here?"
Yeah, I can't get a word in edgeways because we've got this Australian guy on the fucking podcast.
Can I just say as well?
What did you call me before we started recording? There's a term of endearment.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say it's so refreshing to have that Aussie accent on. There's no better sound than an Aussie swearing. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
It's great. Oh, it has. It's been an amazing podcast, that, Sam. I mean, like JK said, I could listen to you again for another couple of hours, and we'll definitely have to get you on again if you're available and want to. I mean, obviously, giving up your time, it's very, very kind of you, mate, and you're on the other side of the world, so we really appreciate it. Lads, have you got anything else to add before we call it a day?
I don't think so. I just think the only thing I would say is that, just talking about another pod, I think it would be really useful to, if we do, because I think we should definitely do another part of the mini-series on buying, on helping people buy. And I think there'd be some huge value for Sam if, at some point in the future, mate, if you've got time, just to have a conversation around, your insights from someone that actually gets paid to do it for a living and speaks to people on a daily basis. I think there's because there aren't, and we kind of said this off air, in both, Australia is kind of seen as the mecca of real estate, isn't it? We were talking about this off air. Australia have got it nailed. They are the agents that, are the best in the world. When the reality is, obviously the best of the best are some of the best in the world. However, I'm right in thinking that 90% of them aren't.
It's equally as shit. And again, I feel like we're going to end it on me sounding really arrogant. And hey, it is what it is. If people want to think that, that's cool. But that is the reality. Like, I came back here excited to be involved in this industry again. And again, it was like day 2. I was like, this is so shit. Like, why do people bother getting into this if they're just going to be bad? And the challenging part about rising house prices is that bad agents just need to sell less houses to make enough money to survive. So they just hang around longer. That sucks for everybody, right? It sucks for buyers, sellers, landlords, investors, and other good real estate agents who get tainted with the same brush. Yeah. I definitely think it's an episode waiting to happen that I think will be really well received and educational, not only for people listening, but for ourselves as well. These conversations are always great because, I've got mental notes here. I know the guys have been rapidly scribbling down bits throughout the podcast, but one thing that I suppose is good is that as we know, we are implementers. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Tarpley video go out in about 3 days. Welcome to Tarpley. Little local barn conversions all over the shop. Yeah. I look forward to seeing it. I'm still stalking all you guys on the internet, so I'll wait to see it. I'll be very excited. Well, once again, mate, we are super grateful for your time, experience, knowledge, and the value you've shared. And is there any value in anyone following you here, or is it going to muddy the water if people follow you on Happy Buyers Club? How does anyone find about you? Our Instagram is at happy.buyers.club. I'm trying to get the guy who has Happy Buyers Club without the dots to give me his handle. He hasn't posted anything since 2013. So if anyone knows that guy, give him a nudge. Sounds like Mike Tyler. That's us. I don't do much on LinkedIn these days because it's not really the audience that we're attracting, and I don't want to just jump on there for fun. I try a few things every now and again. I put a video on LinkedIn a week ago, which that video on our Instagrams had 35,000 views. It's had 500 views on LinkedIn. Yeah. Hey. Knowing your audience, isn't it? It is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, that's us on Instagram. But I still am on LinkedIn, just seeing what everyone else is up to. I can't figure out how to get my location to go back to Australia, so I still only see you guys on LinkedIn, which is nice. Just it's very familiar, which is good. So yeah, they're probably the two best things. And if you need any video inspo, I think what we're doing works. We're going to try a few different things over the next few months as well, because there are a few copycats out there, which I think tells us we're onto something. But I think what it will tell Instagram is to not feed us all the good shit straight away. So we just want to then see what comes next. But it's a balancing act, right? You still got to do your job. So yeah, we'll figure it out.
Perfect. Well, mate, absolute pleasure. Really appreciate your time. And unless anyone else has got anything else to add,
no,
we'll bid you goodbye for another week.
Great pod.
Cheers, fellas.